9440.
4405.
9440 405. 90.
And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. I'm John Garlick, filling in for Chris Wright on a well-deserved holiday. And with me is our sheriff, Matthew Wade.
Always good to be on the show, John. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for putting it all together today.
Oh, well, thank you. And let's thank our citizens who did a lot of work over this holiday
Never let us
weekend.
down. Got 3 arrests this week. That brings our count up to 4,177 people put in jail, all because you were willing to help out. I know I say this every week, but it truly takes all of us to make a difference. We cannot do it alone, and we do need your help, and we want you to feel like you can come to us, trust us, and know that we are discreet with your information and trustworthy. So thank you for always trusting us.
And those citizens helped those folks there find a little holiday respite in our hotel.
You know, people talk about jail all the time, and I hear it all the time, well, I wish I could get free meals and free TV. And I tell them, you know, there's nobody in jail that wants to stay. If we open the door, nobody would say, well, I think I'm going to stay for the weekend because it's so much fun. So
They'd all leave.
They'd all leave. So it is a tough place to, but you know, coming up this week, June the 1st, we've worked hard for about a year now. Our jail population just keeps climbing and climbing. We're at an all-time high. Just this week, we had 580 something people in our jail,
Yes.
well beyond what it's designed for. We've been working for a year with the city of Anniston. June the 1st, the Anniston City Jail will now become part of the Calhoun County Jail. Our plan is to move all of our women over to the Anniston City Jail. That facility will be an all-women's facility. The sad part is we'll fill it up on day one with women. Unfortunately, used to when I began this in 1996, if you had 10 or 15 women, you had a lot. Now, just this week, we have over 110, 115 women, and we'll be putting those in the Anniston City Jail to relieve some of that burden, that's the overcrowding burden that we have in our jail. It doesn't fix everything. This is not a total fix, a total solution, but it is something that will help us until we can find a permanent solution to what we have. We're having tons of sections that are designed for 30, we got 75 in it. It's something I can't help. I don't like it. I wish I could change it, but you just can't snap and build a jail overnight or even in a year or 2 years, but we are working towards fixing that problem.
It takes millions and millions of dollars.
It does.
This is a great partnership between the City of Anniston, Anniston PD, and the Sheriff's Office.
It is, and I don't want to be remiss when I talk about our current county commissioners. All 5 of them have been gracious enough. This is an added financial burden to them, so they are helping us with that. And I appreciate their work. Like I said, this has been a year long. We started doing this in June of last year. And I do appreciate our county commissioners for stepping up to the plate and helping us try to find a solution because we're trying to do the right thing. We're not doing this because some court somewhere is telling us to. We're trying to do the right thing, but if we can't get this fixed, some court somewhere will probably tell us some things we have to do. So we're trying to do the right thing, so thank you very much.
Always a step in the right direction, and you know, stay with us because in a minute you're going to see the first half of our lineup, and you can help fill up some of those beds that are already filling up at the new women's facility at the Anniston City Jail. So stay with us on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to this week's edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted. First up on our lineup this week, Patrick Clopton. Mr. Clopton, last known to be living in Jacksonville. He's wanted for probation violation on delivery and sale of drug paraphernalia. Take a look at DeMarcus Byers. Mr. Byers, last known to be living in Oxford, he's wanted for a probation revocation on domestic violence, third assault, and resisting arrest. And meet Melissa Vermillion. Miss Vermillion, last known to be living in Anniston, she's wanted on a probation violation of assault second. And take a look at Michelle Jones. Miss Jones, last known to be living in Birmingham, she's wanted for failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance and receiving stolen property first. And this is Lawrence Cooper. Mr. Cooper, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to appear on theft of property third. And please meet Jennifer Latham. Miss Latham, last known to be living in Piedmont, she's wanted for failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance. And last up for the first half of our lineup, Timothy Beck. Mr. Beck, last known to be living in Roanoke, He's wanted for failure to appear on criminal mischief second. And that's it for the first half of our lineup. Stay tuned for the second half later in the show. And welcome back. We hope you saw somebody in the lineup that you might know, or at least know where they are, and you can give us a call. Right now, we've got some stuff coming up, and I've got Circuit Court Clerk Kim McCarson and her assistant Michelle Ponder. I don't know if you're really an assistant, but you're looking at three of the most important people for this upcoming next week thing. So why don't you tell us what's coming up?
A lot of people don't understand elections. They just know that, hey, an election's coming up, I get to vote, and the election we got come up on June the 5th is a primary election. And people don't understand a primary election is where people have signed up to run for office as Democrats and people have signed up to run for office as Republicans. In a primary, you go and you either vote as a Democrat or you vote as a Republican. Some people don't understand, well, why do I have to choose? Well, this election is for those two parties to determine who their candidate is. So if there's more than one person running for sheriff on the Democratic side, if there's more than one person running for sheriff on the Republican side, June the 5th, the Republicans get to have an election. Whoever gets the most votes out of the two on the Republican side becomes the candidate for November in the general election. Who gets the most votes on the Democratic side becomes the Democrats' candidate for sheriff on their side, and those two would meet at the general election. So on June the 5th, we're trying to determine whose part, what if you're running for an election, that party's pick for that position. Now, if nobody has somebody, if that position, say sheriff, nobody is running as a Democrat and there's two running as Republicans, whoever wins on June the 5th will probably be the pick for the general election. So it's kind of complicated, but the sheriff, the circuit clerk, Kim McCarson, and the probate judge, Alice Martin, by Alabama's Constitution, is the three people who run the elections.
That's right.
So that's the reason why we have Kim today, and we'll talk about how Michelle plays a part in what she's doing.
All of this stuff is very important, and there's lots of controls in place to eliminate any indiscretions. So why don't you tell us?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have a family member that's on the ballot, and I didn't want the perception that someone might think that I would do something improper. Even though we don't handle the ballots, I wanted to take that perception off the table. So the board appointed Michelle Ponder, who is an employee of mine, to handle those duties in my stead. So she'll be Kim McCarson on June the 5th.
And that's not, in previous elections when Sheriff Emerson was on the ballot, if he had an opponent, he would appoint somebody, and I ran the elections, or was a part of the election, I wouldn't say ran, but was a part of the elections in the same process to make sure that people felt that it was a fair process. But in today's technology, there's no way for one person to alter those election statuses, those ballots. We have poll workers, those ballots are accounted for, each and every one of them. They go into the machine counts them, that tape mix up with the machine is plugged into a computer who counts them. So there is no hand counting of ballots, or there's no one person who can alter those.
Right, and there's a group of people, that you guys are a group of people in each county that are over the elections, that make sure they run according to law.
That's right.
And that there's no bad things happening and no indiscretions. And I think that's great. That's an important part of this democratic process.
And what she's doing is very commendable. She didn't have to, but she chose to do that. And I, that speaks volumes to her character. So,
thank you, Sheriff.
Even though you didn't have to, you did. And I think that speaks volumes to what we try to do here in Calhoun County, and that's be above board.
Yeah, you want to do unto others as you would have them to do unto you.
Absolutely.
So,
and, so you want to do the right thing, and thank you for doing that. As circuit clerk, one thing that kind of in her realm, it used to be all hers, and that was absentee ballots. So, and that's something that is very important. I had somebody ask me Sunday, when is absentee? When can I? How can I vote absentee? And that's something that's very important, because we want to encourage everybody to vote. I mean, voting. We just had Memorial Day, yesterday, and your family members that served, I served. People fought and died for that privilege for us to be our self-government. So, it's very important that we vote. And there's an old saying, don't complain if you didn't vote. So,
that's right.
we want to make sure we talk about that. And in the next segment, I'd like for y'all to tell us about absentee ballots so people can understand when the deadline is and how they can go about it in case they cannot vote on June the 5th from being out of town.
There you go, and it gets complicated because next Monday is a state holiday,
It
right?
is, yes.
So there's some important deadlines. But before we tell you about those deadlines, we're going to take a break, and you're going to look at the second half of the lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. And welcome to the second half of our lineup. First up this half, Joseph Burton. Mr. Burton, last known to be living in Anniston, he's wanted for failure to appear on distribution of a controlled substance. And this is Michael Humphrey. Mr. Humphrey, last known to be living in Gadsden, he's wanted on a probation violation of burglary third. And take a look at Jennifer Wissenant. Miss Wissenant, last known to be living in Gadsden, she's wanted for failure to appear on obstruction of justice using false ID and possession of a controlled substance. And this is Sanisha Embry. Miss Embry, last known to be living in Pell City, she's wanted for failure to appear on theft of property third and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. And we'd like you to meet Corey Brown. Mr. Brown, last known to be living in Oxford, he's wanted on failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance, use and possession of drug paraphernalia, and criminal trespass third. And last up in our lineup this week, Wanda Moore. Miss Moore, last known to be living in Atala, she's wanted for a probation violation on possession of a controlled substance. And that's it for this week's lineup. If you know the whereabouts of these folks, please give us a call at Crime Stoppers. That number, 256-238-1414. And welcome back again. Hope you got another look at our lineup this week. And if you know where they are, give us a call. But right now, we've got an election coming up next week, some holidays mixing in with it, and some very important deadlines. And Kim McCarson is here with Michelle Ponder to tell us what you got to do and when you got to do it by, right?
Yes. Well, you have all of this week until Thursday at 4:30 to apply and vote all at one time. If you apply in office, you'll have to worry about the mail getting to you and the ballot getting back by Tuesday because, like you said earlier, Monday is a holiday. And the mail may run. I think we decided earlier that the mail may run, but it's easier just to go ahead and go in person and apply and vote all at one time.
So if you're going to be out of town for this second holiday weekend, and you're not going to be in town on Tuesday's election, you need to get moving forward because you only have 2 days now, today, Wednesday, and all day Thursday, to register for your absentee ballot and get it back.
Right. There are some exceptions, John.
Okay.
If it's a medical emergency, you may actually apply and vote on Friday. And some
what's
people,
the qualifications to vote absentee? I guess some people might say, well, do I qualify? What's the rules? Is it just go do it if I want to do it? You know, what are the rules for absentee voting?
well, if it's a hardship, if you're out of town and you're working and you're not going to be back in town that day, or if you are going out of town, I think they've streamlined that a little bit. So there's just one or two questions, and it's just an answer. You just swear that you're not going to be able to vote that day, and you can vote.
So it's not that hard. They don't have to bring in all these documents and this, that, and the other.
No, it's very simple. It's as simple as signing, I'm not going to be here, just a sworn statement.
And we want people to vote. So that the goal is to get people to vote, not to keep people from voting.
That's exactly right. Please go vote. Everyone go vote. And if you would like a sample ballot, you can go on to Calhoun County, the website, calhouncounty.org, and you can get a sample Democrat or Republican ballot. So you can kind of figure out who you're voting for before you get to the voting booth, or whether you're applying.
If somebody wants to vote absentee, they got till Thursday. So where do they go to do that at?
1702 Noble, that's the Calhoun County Ken Joyner Administration Building.
Where you get your tags.
Where you get your tags and license and you record deeds. It's the first right-hand suite right off of the entrance there, off of 17th Street. And I believe those should be there till 4:30. They began at 8 o'clock. They open at 8. And there have been already 380 absentee ballots issued.
Wow.
That's great.
And 265 have been returned.
Wow.
So that's a little low, but I think it's going to pick up a lot. I talked to them this morning, and they were busy trying to get the mail opened and get everything processed.
Now, there was some confusion in the elections before if you were a registered Democrat or registered Republican as to which primary you could vote in. Now, we're still under the You registered Democrat, you vote in the Democrat primary, and the same with
Nope.
Republican? No?
Nope.
Clarify it.
And Kim can make sure I stay on track with that. How it works is when you go to June the 5th, you can vote either as a Democrat or Republican. You can pick. There is no card. You don't have to say that you're a member. You can, if you decide that you've been a lifelong Democrat and you want to vote Republican, you can. Now, where the problem might come into play is if there's, in some of our elections, there's more than 2 people running. So if there's a runoff, say there's 3 people running, all 3 of us are running for the same office, and there's a runoff and it's just us 2, if you voted in the Republican primary, you can't go over and vote in the Democrat in a runoff. You have to wait till the general election.
So in this
That
coming
election
election,
cycle.
Election cycle.
so on Tuesday, or in the absentee ballot, it doesn't matter. You can be
pick
whatever you want to be that day.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It
Again,
is.
encouraging everybody who can to come vote
vote.
and not leaving anybody out.
That's right.
Yes.
And Michelle, what are you going to do?
I am going to be there to watch all the provisional ballots get opened, and then Sheriff will sign off and Judge Martin will sign off, and I will take Kim's place and sign it off. So
And we hope we can get her to ride around with us on June the 5th to see the polling spots and
That
see
would
some of
be
the,
nice.
the
Sure.
process. So.
absolutely.
That's awesome. So let's remind everybody again. Thursday's the deadline, and where do they have to go, and how do they do that? Let's read.
1702 Noble Street.
The old
They-
Sears building.
Yes, and you can actually request application in the mail and mail it, but at this time, I wouldn't suggest that or recommend. I would say apply and vote in person, because it can be a 1-step process or a 2-step process.
Because we actually count those ballots after 7 o'clock. Absentee ballots are counted during that process on June the 5th. So.
So go to the county admin building, get your absentee ballot, fill it out, and get it in. Hurry, hurry, and
Do
make
what you
sure.
have to do to
what
vote.
if you haven't registered to vote? Have you missed the
It's-
deadline?
You
We've
missed
missed
the
the deadline,
deadline. It's May the
unfortunately.
21st
All right.
to make any changes or to register.
Well,
But there's always the provisional. If you feel like once you get to the polls, if there's been a mistake made, or you can always
Always,
have the choice to
always.
vote a provisional.
so
And I
always
would-
ask, and remember,
Yes.
vote Thursday, absentee, Tuesday, June 5th, in person, and stay with us. And coming up is the Crime Stoppers portion of our show, and then our crazy criminal.
All right, it's time for the Crime Stoppers segment of the show. Let's talk about some property crimes. Hopefully you can give us a little bit of information to solve one or more of these crimes. On May 14th and again on May 17th, a business on Highway 144 in Alexandria was burglarized. A person wearing a white uniform was seen on surveillance. A large amount of copper was stolen. Between April 15th and May 15th, a Glock handgun was stolen from a home on Cheyenne Trail in Anniston. Between May 13th and May 16th, the home on Jamback Road in Anniston was entered by forcible means. 3 air conditioners, 4 kitchen cabinets, and assorted painting supplies were stolen. During the early morning hours of May 19th, the white 2007 Dodge Caliber was stolen from a location on Highway 77 in Lincoln. On May 20th, a black male was seen breaking into a vehicle on Cedar Springs Road. This person was also seen leaving in a gray Oldsmobile car driven by another black male. Between May 9th and May 19th, an unknown person stole a Carrier AC unit from a residence on Roy Webb Road in Piedmont. If you have any information about any of these cases or others, please contact Calhoun County Crime Stoppers. You could get a cash reward of up to $1,000. The number to call is 256-238-1414.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
And now it's time for the crazy criminal. Our sheriff has done all the research, so tell us about it.
You know, bank robbers, you know, people do rob banks because they think they get lots of money, right? You know, have you ever heard of bank robberies that's happened that's not solved?
Not often.
Not often. These 2 guys are from Australia. They come over to America. They go to Vail, Colorado.
Colorado.
They rob a bank. They get $170,000. Pretty good haul, right?
That's a big haul.
So instead of going to a nice steakhouse, they go to the McDonald's nearby. So you go to McDonald's, how do you think they get caught?
I can't imagine. A lot of cheeseburgers.
They go into the bathroom and fan out a bunch of money, take pictures and put it on social media. And that's, you know, social media goes back and those pictures of them holding all that money the authorities go, people that knew him said, So they basically on social media said, hey, we robbed a bank.
Boom.
And all their friends said, let's call 911. So if you're going to rob a bank, you might not want to take pictures of all your stolen loot and put it on social media.
Stay off of social media if you're a crook. That's awesome.
It is awesome. I can't believe they went to McDonald's. I'd at least went to a steakhouse somewhere.
Oh yeah, Ruth Chris, definitely.
Something.
Well, anyway, their people were watching social media, turn them in from Facebook, and we've got a lot of citizens looking at our lineup and turning people in. So please, look at our lineup, look at our Crime Stoppers portion, and let us know what you know, and we'll just bring them downtown, and we'll take care of justice at this end. And until next week, we'll see you again on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.